Loneliness does not kill you. What kills you is believing that you need someone to save you. Let me tell you something I discovered after 20 years of working in therapy. Most people who come into my office completely broken, devastated, feeling like they can't go on, all have something in common. It's not depression. It's not anxiety in the classic sense. It's something much deeper and more painful. They have placed their happiness, their peace of mind, their ability to function in this world in the hands of another person. And that person left, or was never really there, or is there, but not in the way they needed. And here comes the brutal part, the part that truly hurts. Many of us grew up with the idea that we need someone beside us to feel complete, that if we are alone, something is wrong with us, that love, companionship, and external validation are what give us value. And this belief, so deeply rooted in our culture, in our families, in everything we see in movies and songs, is destroying us from the inside. Before I continue, if anything I'm saying resonates with you, if you feel that this topic touches you personally, leave me a comment telling me where you're listening from. I want to know you're there, that you're not alone in this. And if this content is helping you, give me a like and subscribe to the channel, because I need this message to reach more people who are suffering in silence. Now I want you to understand something fundamental that we're going to explore in depth today. There is a massive difference between being alone and feeling lonely. And there is an even bigger difference between needing someone and wanting someone. What I'm going to share with you today can radically change the way you relate to yourself and to others. But I need you to stay until the end, because there is a practical tool, something I've seen work again and again with my patients, that will transform your life. It's something most people don't understand about the brain and loneliness, and I'll explain it at the end of the video. When we are born, we are completely dependent. This is not philosophy. It's pure biology. A baby who doesn't receive care dies. As simple and brutal as that. Our brain comes pre-programmed with an alarm system that activates when it senses abandonment. Because for thousands of years of evolution, being alone meant certain death. A baby abandoned on the savannah wouldn't survive even 2 days. This programming does not disappear when we grow up. It stays there, deep in our amygdala, the primitive part of the brain that manages fear and survival. That's why when someone leaves us, rejects us, or makes us feel like we don't belong, it's not just emotional pain. It's your brain interpreting that situation as a real threat to your survival. It's your nervous system activating as if you were in mortal danger. And here's something very few people know. Your brain does not distinguish between a real threat and a perceived threat. For your amygdala, your partner leaving you or a group of friends not including you triggers the same brain regions as if a lion were chasing you. Cortisol shoots up. Adrenaline floods your system. Your body enters survival mode. And when you stay in that state for weeks, months, or even years, your mental and physical health deteriorates. I've seen patients with gastrointestinal problems, chronic insomnia, unexplained muscle pain. And when we go deeper, we discover it all comes from the fear of abandonment, the constant feeling of not being enough, of desperately needing someone else's validation. Now, let me tell you about something I constantly see that destroys lives: emotional dependence. And I'm not talking only about toxic romantic relationships, although that too. I'm talking about that visceral need to have someone tell you that you're okay, that you matter, that you're important. That unbearable emptiness you feel when you're alone with yourself. I remember a patient, I'll call her Laura, though it's not her real name. Laura came to my office after her 3rd breakup in 2 years. Each time a relationship ended, she entered a spiral of desperation that pushed her to immediately look for someone else. She couldn't be alone for even a month. She told me, "I need to feel that someone loves me, that someone thinks about me. When I'm alone, I feel like I'm going to fall apart." And the most painful part wasn't that she chose the wrong partners, though she did. The devastating part was that Laura had no idea who she was without someone next to her. Her entire identity was built around being someone's girlfriend, someone's friend, someone's perfect daughter who met everyone's expectations. But Laura The real person with her own desires, fears, and dreams was a stranger to herself. And this is what I need you to understand because it's crucial. When you don't know who you are without others, you become a chameleon. You change color depending on the environment. You say what you think others want to hear. You do what you think will make you loved. And little by little, you betray your own needs and values until you reach a point where you don't even recognize your own inner voice. I have to talk to you about something fundamental to understanding why loneliness hurts so much and why it's so important to learn how to manage it. Cortisol, the stress hormone. When you live in a constant state of need, when your happiness depends on external factors you cannot control, like whether someone texts you, calls you, pays attention to you, your body stays in permanent alert. Chronic high cortisol does something terrible to your brain. It affects the hippocampus, the area responsible for memory and learning. It interferes with your ability to concentrate. But the worst part is this. When your cortisol levels are constantly high, your brain starts interpreting everything as a threat. You enter what I call chronic survival mode. In this state, your brain cannot access higher functions, clear reasoning, creativity, joy. You are trapped in a loop of fear and need. And the cruelest part, in that state, you make the worst decisions. You cling to people who hurt you. You accept crumbs of affection as if they were a feast. You betray your own boundaries over and over. And here's something I want you to keep in mind because we'll return to it when I give you the practical tool. There is a way to reprogram your stress response, to teach your brain that being alone is not a threat. But to get there, you need to understand something deeper first. Most of our problems with loneliness, the need for approval, the feeling of not being enough, do not begin in adulthood. They begin much earlier, in childhood, and not necessarily because you had terrible parents or a traumatic event. Sometimes it's much more subtle. Maybe you grew up in a home where love was conditional. You were loved when you got good grades, when you behaved well, when you didn't cause problems. You learned that your worth depended on what you did, not on who you were, and that belief became engraved in your nervous system. Or maybe your parents were emotionally absent, not out of malice, but because they were stressed, busy, dealing with their own problems. And you, as a child, interpreted that absence as, I'm not important enough. I don't deserve attention. I have to be extraordinary for people to see me. This primary wound, this feeling of not being enough formed in childhood, becomes a filter through which you interpret your entire adult life. When someone doesn't reply to your message, it's not that they're busy, it's that they don't love you enough. When someone criticizes you, it's not an opinion, it's confirmation that you're worthless. You live with that open wound, bleeding internally, desperately seeking someone who can heal it. But here's what you need to understand urgently. No one can heal a wound you don't acknowledge. No one can give you the love you refuse to give yourself. We need to talk about something society has sold us since childhood that is ruining lives. The idea of romantic love as salvation, the other half, the soulmate, the person who will complete you, give meaning to your existence, and solve all your internal problems. This is not love. This is dependence disguised as romance. And it is extremely dangerous because it is socially accepted, even celebrated. How many songs say, I can't live without you? You are my whole life. I'll die if you leave. We see it in movies, novels, social media, and we internalize it as something desirable, like that's how true love should be. But let me tell you what healthy love really is. Healthy love is when two complete people, with their own identity, interests, and ability to be happy, choose to share their lives. Not because they need each other, but because they want each other. Not to fill a void, but to add to each other's life. The difference may seem small, but it is enormous. When you need someone, you live in constant fear. Fear they'll leave, fear they'll stop loving you, fear they'll find someone better. And from that fear come toxic behaviors. You become controlling, possessive, jealous, or the opposite. You disappear, you silence yourself. You become invisible just to avoid being abandoned. When you love someone, you don't need them. There is freedom. There is space to be yourself. There is trust. And paradoxically, that kind of relationship is much more solid, much deeper than any relationship based on need. Let me tell you something that maybe you'll resist at first. Loneliness is not your enemy. Loneliness can actually be the greatest gift life gives you. Because it's in loneliness, when there's no one else around, when you can't distract yourself with other people's drama or external validation, that you finally have the chance to meet yourself. And I know it sounds like a cliché, like those self-help quotes you see everywhere. But there is a huge difference between knowing something intellectually and understanding it viscerally, in your body, in your cells, in your lived experience. And that only happens when you dare to be truly alone. I'm not talking about isolating yourself from the world. I'm talking about building a relationship with yourself, learning to enjoy your own company, discovering what you truly like when you're not trying to impress anyone, what you think when you're not repeating someone else's opinions, what you feel when you finally allow yourself to feel without judgment. I've had patients tell me, but when I'm alone, horrible thoughts invade me. I feel useless, empty, without purpose. And that, exactly that, is what you need to hear. Those thoughts don't appear because you're alone. They were always there. Loneliness just removes the noise that helped you ignore them. Here comes the hard part, the part most people avoid for their entire lives. If you want to move forward without needing anyone beside you, you must do deep inner work. And that work is uncomfortable. It's painful. It's like cleaning an infected wound. It hurts now, but it's the only thing that will heal you. First, you must identify your limiting beliefs, those voices that tell you you're not enough, that you don't deserve love, that you'll always be alone. And you must understand where they come from, not to justify them, but to see them for what they are, interpretations, not truths. I remember a patient, we'll call him Miguel. He told me, "I know I'm boring. That's why nobody wants to be with me." When I asked him where that idea came from, he told me that at 12 years old, at a birthday party, a group of kids didn't include him in a game, and he interpreted that moment as, "I'm boring. No one likes me." A belief created by 12-year-olds, kids who don't even remember that moment, was controlling his life for 20 years. He was 32, still rejecting social opportunities and sabotaging relationships, constantly proving himself right. Because that's how the brain works. It looks for evidence to confirm what it already believes. Inner work also means learning to regulate your emotions. This is key. When you feel anxiety, when that emptiness hits, your instinct is to look for something external to soothe it. A message, a call, food, alcohol, anything. But every time you do that, you reinforce the belief that you can't handle your own emotions, that you need something external to survive. Here's something practical you can use today. Your nervous system has two main modes: sympathetic, stress, danger, alert. Parasympathetic, calm, repair, restoration. When you are in a state of constant need, your sympathetic system is overactive. The fastest way to switch states is through breath. But not just any breath. You must extend the exhale. When you exhale longer than you inhale, you activate the vagus nerve, the brake of your nervous system, telling your body, you are safe. So the next time loneliness or anxiety hits, before touching your phone, stop. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale through your mouth for 8 seconds. Repeat 10 times. It's not magic. It's biology. You're literally changing your brain chemistry. Another major problem I see is that many people don't have their own identity. They've spent so long pleasing others, adapting, playing roles, that they no longer know who they are. And when they're alone, when they lose the external mirror that defines them, they panic. You must build your identity from within. Ask yourself questions you've never asked. What truly excites you? Not what should excite you. What values are non-negotiable? What kind of person do you want to be, even when no one is watching? You can't do this while constantly worrying about whether others approve of you. One of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself is, if no one could judge me, if there were zero social consequences, what would I change in my life? Your answers will show how much of your life is based on fear rather than desire. And here's something crucial. You cannot think your way into confidence. You cannot rationalize your way into self-worth. Self-esteem comes from action. Every time you do something that scares you and you survive, your brain updates itself. You create new evidence that you are capable. Start small. Eat alone at a restaurant. Go to the movies alone. Travel alone, even if it's just to a nearby town. Every time you do something alone and realize nothing bad happens, in fact, that it can be enjoyable, you reclaim your power. And here's the paradox. The goal is not to reject relationships. Humans need connection. But there is a difference between choosing someone because they add to your life and clinging to someone because you feel empty without them. We live in a world of comparison. Social media showing perfect lives, ideal relationships. And when you're alone or struggling, you look at those screens and think, everyone has their life together except me. But that's an illusion. Behind those perfect photos, I see the reality. Relationship crises, deep loneliness masked as popularity, overwhelming anxiety behind curated smiles. Comparison is the poison of happiness. If your sense of worth depends on comparing yourself to others, you will never find peace. You must run your own race. Define success on your own terms. Understand that your life doesn't need to look like anyone else's to be meaningful. And here's another truth. You cannot be loved for a mask. No one can connect with your facade. Real connection requires vulnerability, showing your fears, your imperfections, not because you need rescuing, but because vulnerability is the bridge between humans. Let's talk about real self-care, not candles and bubble baths. Real self-care is setting boundaries even if people get upset, saying no when you need to say no, prioritizing your mental health even if others don't understand, resting when you're emotionally exhausted, treating yourself with compassion, and most importantly, stopping the search for external validation. No one can make you feel enough if you don't feel enough inside. Purpose is also essential. I'm not talking about changing the world. Purpose means having something that makes you look forward to your day, something that is yours, something that gives your life meaning beyond relationships. I've seen people transform after heartbreak simply by investing in something meaningful. Volunteering, studying, creating projects, learning new skills. Not only did they heal, they found themselves. And here's something powerful. Create rituals for yourself. Small things you do only for you. Morning coffee in your favorite cup. Reading before bed. A weekly walk in a park. These rituals anchor you. They teach you that you can give yourself peace, joy, connection without anyone else. And when you do this consistently, something magical happens. You begin to enjoy your own company. You begin to feel whole. The silence becomes nourishing, not terrifying. And from that place, from that inner fullness, you attract very different relationships, because you are no longer looking for someone to complete you. You are looking for someone with whom you can share your fullness. There is something we need to talk about, something fundamental to be able to move forward: forgiveness. And before you think I'm going to tell you to forgive the one who hurt you, let me clarify something. The most important forgiveness, the one that will free you the most, is the forgiveness you give yourself. How many times have you punished yourself for choosing wrong, for trusting someone you shouldn't have trusted, for enduring more than you should have endured? How many times have you told yourself, how could I be so stupid? How did I not see the signs? Why did I allow them to treat me like that? And that constant self-punishment, that resentment toward yourself, keeps you trapped in the past. You need to understand that you did the best you could with the tools you had at that moment, with the level of awareness you had, with the beliefs you had. That doesn't mean justifying everything, but it does mean letting go of the cruel judgment toward yourself. It means recognizing your humanity, your imperfection, your right to make mistakes and learn. And yes, there is also the forgiveness of others, but not because they deserve it, but because resentment poisons you. Resentment is like drinking poison while hoping the other person dies. It doesn't work that way. The other person probably doesn't even remember, or they're so trapped in their own issues that it doesn't affect them. Meanwhile, you are burning yourself from the inside, giving power over your life to someone who is no longer there. Forgiving does not mean reconciling. It does not mean going back or trusting again. It means releasing the emotional weight, stopping the cycle of reliving the wound in your mind. It means reclaiming your energy, your mental peace, so you can invest it in your present and your future. And now, as I promised you in the beginning, I'm going to share something truly transformative. It is a tool that combines neuroscience with clinical practice, and I've seen it work even in the hardest cases. It's called the compassionate observer technique, and this is how it works. When you feel overwhelmed by loneliness, by that visceral need for connection, instead of repressing the emotion or acting impulsively, you're going to do something different. You're going to mentally step back from the emotion. Imagine that there is a part of you that can observe what you're feeling without getting dragged into it, as if you were watching a movie of your own experience. And from that observer position, you're going to name what you're feeling. I'm feeling loneliness. I'm feeling fear of abandonment. I'm feeling a need for validation. The simple act of naming the emotion activates the prefrontal cortex, music, the rational part of your brain, and reduces the activation of the amygdala. You are literally turning off the emergency alarm. Then, from that observer position, you're going to speak to yourself with compassion, not pity, compassion. You're going to tell yourself, I know this is hard. I know it hurts, and it's okay to feel what you feel. Music. And here comes the crucial part. You're going to remind yourself of a fundamental truth. This emotion is temporary. All emotions are temporary. What you're feeling right now, no matter how intense, will pass. And meanwhile, you are safe. Right now, here in this moment, you are safe. You're not in real danger. Practice this every time the need appears. Every time you feel the impulse to seek external validation. Over time, you will create a new neural circuit. You will train your brain to understand that being alone is not an emergency. And when your brain understands that, everything changes. Rebuilding yourself, moving forward without someone by your side, is not easy. I won't lie to you. There will be days when you feel like you're going backwards, like you're not progressing, like you'll never be okay again. But those days are part of the process. Healing is not linear, not a straight upward line. It's a zigzag music with advances and setbacks, good days and horrible days. And on the horrible days, when you feel like everything you've worked for is falling apart, you need to remember something essential. One bad day does not erase all your progress. A relapse does not mean you've failed. I've seen people who, after months of work, after feeling better and better, have one terrible day and say, "You see, I'm never going to change. I'm always going to be like this." And that's not true. That is your brain in catastrophic mode, interpreting a difficult moment as a permanent sentence. It is not. Rebuilding yourself is like building a muscle. You need repetition, consistency. At first it hurts. At first it's uncomfortable. But over time it becomes easier. What used to destroy you for weeks now affects you for days. What used to last days now lasts hours. You are healing, even when you don't feel it. And in this process of reconstruction, you're going to discover things about yourself that you didn't know. You will find strengths you didn't believe you had. You will surprise yourself handling situations that would have paralyzed you before. And every small victory, every moment where you choose your well-being over the need for approval, is building a stronger version of you. I know there is a fear that haunts you, one you probably don't even dare to say out loud. The fear that if you stop needing someone, if you become too independent, if you learn to be okay alone, then you will end up alone forever. As if the ability to be okay without anyone condemns you to eternal loneliness. And this fear makes sense. We live in a culture that tells us that needing is romantic, that dependence is real love. But let me tell you something based on years of experience. The most attractive people, the ones who form the deepest and healthiest connections, are precisely the ones who do not need. They are the ones who are complete within themselves and choose to share their life. Think about it. Do you want to be with someone who clings to you out of desperation? Who needs you to survive emotionally? who falls apart without you? Or do you prefer someone who chooses you every day, who is with you because your life adds to theirs and theirs adds to yours, but who, if tomorrow you were gone, although it would hurt, would keep going because they have inner strength? Emotional independence does not take you away from love. It brings you closer to real love, healthy love, love that doesn't suffocate or control or demand constant proof and reassurance. It brings you closer to relationships where there is freedom, where there is trust, where you are not constantly alert waiting for the other person to leave. And if, in this process of healing, of learning to be okay alone, some people drift away from your life, let them go. Because they were likely people who benefited from your neediness, from your dependence. And relationships built on need are not relationships you want to keep. Now comes something that may sound harsh, but becomes liberating when you truly understand it. No one is responsible for your happiness. Not your partner, not your parents, not your friends, only you. And this is not selfishness, it is mental health. When you expect others to make you happy, you give them enormous power over your life. Your emotional state depends on what they do or don't do, on what they say or don't say. You live on an emotional roller coaster that you cannot control, and that is unsustainable in the long run. Taking responsibility for your own happiness means understanding that you have the power to create a good life for yourself. Not perfect, because perfection doesn't exist, but good. It means stopping waiting for someone to save you and starting to save yourself. It means becoming your own hero. And when you do this, something amazing happens. You stop blaming. You stop victimizing yourself. You stop waiting and start acting. You start making decisions based on what you truly want, not on fear of rejection or loneliness. You start building the life you want instead of constantly reacting to whatever life throws at you. This doesn't mean you can't ask for help or rely on others. Humans need support. We need community. But there is a difference between leaning on someone temporarily and making someone your permanent crutch. There is a difference between sharing your burden and transferring your entire emotional responsibility onto someone else. I want you to know how to recognize your progress, because sometimes change is so gradual you don't notice it. You are healing when you can spend a weekend alone without feeling that unbearable emptiness, when you can see a happy couple without it hurting or triggering envy, when someone doesn't reply to your message, and your first thought isn't that they hate you or are rejecting you. You're healing when you start choosing to be alone instead of being with someone who isn't good for you. When setting boundaries no longer fills you with guilt. When you can say no without feeling like you owe a 30-minute explanation. When you start enjoying small things, simple moments, without needing to share them with someone for them to feel valid. You are healing when you can talk about your past without your voice breaking, when you can acknowledge your mistakes without destroying yourself, when you can forgive yourself for not having been perfect, when you stop compulsively checking your phone waiting for a message from someone specific, when your happiness no longer depends on variables you can't control, and you are healing when you begin to attract different people into your life because your energy has changed. You are no longer emanating desperation and neediness, you are emanating fullness, and that attracts healthy people, whole people, people who have also done their inner work. There is something you must consciously do. Change the story you tell yourself about who you are. Because we all have an internal narrative, a story about who we are. And that story determines how we live. If your story is, I'm someone who always ends up alone, I'm never enough, everyone leaves, then you will live from that place. You will interpret every event through that filter, and without realizing it, you will behave in ways that confirm that story. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But you can change the narrative. You can consciously decide to tell yourself a different story, not a fake story, not denial of what you lived, but a more empowering reinterpretation. Maybe your new story is this. I am someone who has gone through difficult situations and learned from them. I am someone in the process of healing. I am someone who is learning to love and value myself. This new narrative does not deny your pain. It does not minimize your difficulties, but it gives you a different role. You are no longer the permanent victim of circumstances. You are the protagonist of your own story of overcoming, and from that place, you make different decisions. Every time you catch yourself falling back into the old narrative, into victimhood, into poor me, stop, breathe, and consciously reframe it. Yes, this is difficult, and I am choosing to move forward. Yes, I have been hurt, and I am learning to heal. Yes, I am alone right now, and I am using this time to know myself and grow stronger. Even though this message is about learning to be okay alone, not about needing someone specific to feel whole, I need to clarify something important. Humans are tribal beings. We need belonging. We need connection. What you don't need is toxic dependence on one specific person. Building a healthy support network is essential. Real friendships, not superficial ones. Connections where you can be vulnerable, where you can ask for help, where you know someone is listening. But a network, not one single person who becomes your everything. And this network doesn't have to be huge. You don't need 100 friends. You need 2 or 3 genuine connections. People you can talk to without filters, who will tell you the truth even if it hurts, who celebrate your wins without envy, who show up in difficult moments without conditions. And to build these kinds of connections, you have to give what you want to receive. You have to be that kind of friend too. You must be willing to listen, support, show up. Deep friendships take time. They require vulnerability. They require consistent effort. There is also community in a broader sense. Volunteering, a class you attend regularly, a book club, a sports group, spaces where you share interests with others, where you feel part of something bigger. This sense of belonging nourishes the soul. There is a practice that deeply impacts your emotional well-being, and most people underestimate it. Gratitude. And I'm not talking about superficial gratitude, I mean deep gratitude. Training your brain to see what you do have, instead of obsessing over what you lack. When you're in a state of scarcity, focused only on the absence of someone, it's impossible to feel good. Your brain keeps looking for what's missing, confirming your narrative of insufficiency. But when you actively practice gratitude, you shift your focus. It's not about denying pain or difficulty. It's about balancing your perspective. Every night before you sleep, think of 3 things you were grateful for that day and make them specific. Not thanks for my health, but thanks because today I walked for 30 minutes and felt the sun on my face. Not thanks for my family, but thanks because today my sister sent me a message that made me laugh. This simple exercise, done consistently, rewires your brain. You start noticing the good things during the day because you know you'll need to recall 3 of them at night. You're training your brain to look for the positive instead of the negative. Over time, your overall mood changes. And here's something fascinating. When you're in a state of gratitude, it is neurologically impossible to be in a state of anxiety or fear at the same time. They cannot coexist. So gratitude becomes a practical tool for regulating your emotional state. We live in a culture of immediacy. We want everything fast. Fast healing, fast change, fast results. But real transformation takes time, and you must be patient with yourself. You will have days where you feel like you've gone backwards years. Moments where the need for someone beside you feels so intense that you want to throw everything away and call that person you know isn't good for you. And that's okay. It's part of the process. What matters is that you don't stay there, that you don't turn a difficult moment into a permanent decision. Personal transformation is like planting a tree. You can't plant it today and expect fruit tomorrow. You must water it every day, even when you see no progress. You must trust the process. And one day, when you least expect it, you'll notice new sprouts, growth, change. Be kind to yourself on the difficult days. Talk to yourself the way you would speak to a little child who is learning something new and keeps falling. You wouldn't scold them or call them useless. You'd say, "It's okay, get up. You're doing great. Every attempt counts." You need to talk to yourself like that. And understand something. There is no final finish line. There is no point where you say, "That's it, I'm completely healed. I'll never feel fear or loneliness again." Life is a constant process of growth, learning, adjusting. There will always be new challenges, new layers to work on. And that's not bad. That's what it means to be alive. When you finally reach a point where you're truly okay alone, where you don't need anyone to feel complete, you experience a freedom that's hard to describe. It's like removing a massive weight you've been carrying for years without knowing it. You're no longer negotiating your authenticity for acceptance. You're no longer silencing your voice so you don't bother others. You're no longer betraying your values to fit in. You can simply be yourself, with all your imperfections, all your quirks, everything that makes you unique. And if someone doesn't like it, that's okay. It's not a death sentence. It's just incompatibility. This freedom allows you to take risks you once avoided, pursue dreams you once thought were impossible, say things you once kept quiet, set boundaries you once ignored, because you're no longer operating from fear of abandonment. You're operating from self-trust. And paradoxically, when you reach emotional independence, that's when you attract the best relationships, because you're no longer choosing from need, you're choosing from freedom. And the people who come into your life now are people who have also done their work, who are also whole, who can meet you with mutual respect and equality. I want you to think about something bigger than yourself. When you break emotional dependency, when you heal, you're not just helping yourself, you're breaking a cycle that may have been passed down for generations. You are changing the legacy you will leave. If you have children or plan to, you are teaching them through your example that they can be strong, that they can handle adversity, that their worth does not depend on external approval. You are giving them the greatest gift, the ability to love themselves. If you don't have children, you're impacting the people around you. Your friends see you transform, and it inspires them. Your co-workers notice your strength, and it gives them hope. You become a lighthouse for others in the dark. You contribute to a world with healthier relationships, where love is not confused with possession, where independence does not fight with intimacy. Every time you choose your well-being over needing approval, every time you set a boundary, every time you treat yourself with compassion, you create ripples that reach farther than you can imagine. We've come to the end of this journey together, and I want to leave you with an invitation. Choose yourself, today and every day. Commit to your healing, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it hurts, even if it takes longer than you want. Being okay alone does not mean rejecting love or isolating yourself. It means building a foundation inside you so solid that nothing external can destroy it. It means becoming your own home, your own refuge, your own source of love and validation. From that place of fullness, you allow others into your life, not because you need them, but because you choose them. The path is not easy. There will be days where you want to give up, moments where it feels like too much, but you can do this. You are stronger than you think, more capable than you were ever told, and you deserve a life where you're not always in survival mode, where you can breathe, where you can be yourself without fear. And one more thing, the fact that you're here, reading this, listening, reflecting, that already says a lot. It shows that a part of you wants to heal, is ready for change. Honor that part. Follow it. If this message resonated with you, if something in it touched your story, your pain, or your hope, then do something for yourself. Subscribe to this channel, not for me, but because by doing it, you're saying to yourself, I'm committing to my healing. I want to keep learning. I want to keep growing. Like this video, the algorithm needs to know that this kind of content is important, that there are people who need to hear these messages. Every like helps this reach someone who feels lost or alone. But most importantly, leave a comment. Tell me where you're listening from. Tell me what part touched you the most. Tell me where you are in your process. You don't have to share intimate details, just say something. Because when you comment, you're connecting with a community on the same journey. You're reminding yourself that you are not alone. There are many of us trying to heal, trying to grow, trying to build healthier, more conscious lives. And if you know someone going through a difficult moment, someone struggling with loneliness, emotional dependence, feeling not enough, share this video with them. Sometimes one message at the right moment can change a life. Remember, you don't need anyone to save you. You already have everything you need inside you. You just have to learn to access it, trust it, honor it. And that journey back to yourself is the most important one you'll ever take. Because at the end of the day, the most important relationship you have is the one you have with yourself. Everything else is secondary. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting this space. Thank you for committing to your healing. And remember, you are closer than you think. Every step counts. Every conscious decision matters. Every moment of courage adds up. Keep going.